All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of The Potential Project. I'm your host, Sean Calhoun, and if you're here, it's because you're ready to reduce stress, burn stubborn fat, and get your body working with you instead of against you. On this podcast, we're all about simple, no BS strategies for fitness, nutrition, and lifestyle. This way, you can feel strong, confident, and in control. I'll give you the tools, mindset shifts, and habits to help you look and feel your best without spending hours in the gym or stressing over every single meal. Now, let's get into it. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of The Potential Project. And today, what we're going to talk about is one of the biggest things that is holding women back from losing weight and keeping it off. And no, I'm not talking about perfect macros. I'm not talking about not being consistent with the gym. I'm not talking about the perfect supplement routine. What I'm talking about today is prioritizing yourself. I talk with a lot of my clients and just women in general, and they talk about how they want to lose weight, they want to burn fat, but they also, another thing that I gets brought up in conversation almost every time is one way, shape, or form, they are prioritizing other people over themselves. Now, in this world, as a mother, I'm not a mother, obviously, but in this world, it is good to serve others, to do good deeds, especially if you have kids and a family, right? You're going to have to put them, at a place of hierarchy sometimes, right? Like your kids need to be fed, right? The bills need to be paid. There are things that need to be done in life. But with a lot of these women that I talk to, this has happened for years and years and years to the point of putting everything and everyone above their needs and allowing themselves to deplete their energy, to deplete their health, to deplete their mental capacity until one day something pops up. In my world, what happens a lot of times is symptoms occur, right? We start to experience chronic fatigue, low libido, chronic weight gain. Those symptoms are occurring because of not prioritizing yourself, right? Another thing that occurs is the feeling of being burnt out. I just had a conversation with someone last week, and they were saying how, all of this was adding up, and I forced myself to just take a day off from the gym. I didn't work out yesterday because I just needed a rest. And today, what we're going to talk about is what if we flip the script and what if we talked about prioritizing ourselves and scheduling in rest and scheduling in recovery and making your mental, your physical, your spiritual, your emotional health your number one priority and how it is not selfish at all. So that's what we're going to break down today. So what's the problem that occurs with not prioritizing yourself? Well, to me, it looks like living on empty, right? You are people pleasing, right? You're at work, you're just trying to make everyone else happy. You're doing things like overworking, right? Working extra hours just to move the needle, to prioritize being productive and to hit your quota or whatever it is. You're overworking. You're saying yes to things like meetings. You're saying yes to hanging out with certain friends who lower your energy or going to events that don't serve you, right? You're saying yes out of guilt because you think if you say no, someone will judge you or you have fear of missing out, right? When these situations come up, your intuition knows when it should be a yes and when it should be a no. Literally, I was just having a conversation with my mom who was in a situation where she kind of knew what was going to come out of the situation where she was talking with someone and it was burning her energy out and it went far too long and she should have just said no or capped it at a certain point, but she allowed the yes to happen. So guess what? That turned into a negative experience overall. Another thing we do is we put everyone else first. Again, like I said, if you're a mom, if you're a mother and you're a wife, maybe you put your husband first or you put your kids first, and everyone else is getting their food made for them, their laundry done, but all of this time, you're not spending any time exercising or resting or prioritizing yourself. And what happens from this is regular occurrences of burnout. You start to get resentful for people. That's a bad one. I've experienced resentment quite a lot. Not quite a lot, but a certain amount of times where you love people, but because you put them first over top of your priorities or something that you knew you should have done, you didn't do, you start to resent people for it. And it's no one's fault but yourself. And these are people that you might love. You get a physical illness. Like I said, you start to experience symptoms
like weight gain or chronic fatigue or libido or headaches, you name it. There's a lot of things that can come from prioritizing other people over yourself. And another one that, we don't talk too much about, but is emotional depletion. Like your nervous system and your emotions are just shot, right? You're kind of like a walking zombie. You need a reset, right? You don't have that vibrant, energy, that life inside of you to bring forth when it comes to work and your family and the things that you want to do in your life. It's just kind of not there, right? We kind of feel flat with our emotions. And that's a big problem because if you're going through life like that, you're not attracting good things, right? Like if you show up to meet someone or you're on a sales call or you're just meeting up with a friend and you're just kind of like low energy, you're physically tired, you're mentally drained, like you have nothing to give, right? Versus someone who's well rested, well nourished, well exercised, has a lot of vibrant energy. You're a person who other people want to be around. So other things start to improve in your life, right? So what we need to do, if that's the situation, right, where we're constantly putting other people first, we're saying yes when our gut is telling us no, it's leading us to being around people who are zapping our energy, like all things are firing to not support our emotional, physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being, right? We're not getting supported in those areas. So what can we do is we need to reframe ourselves as the priority, right? And shift the perspective. So when we can prioritize our mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health, it doesn't become a luxury. It's just a part of life, right? That's the shift that we need to make. I know a lot of times people think, oh, if I go get a massage, that's a luxury. Or taking a rest day only comes when I feel too burnt out. Or, journaling is something that I do once in a while, right? But instead, we need to shift the perspective to this is a priority. No one or no thing comes ahead of it. And it might sound a little selfish to say that, but your loved ones, your family, your children, your friends, no one comes ahead of your mental, your physical, your emotional, and spiritual health. Because if those are not intact, you cannot show up for those people in the way that you need to. And you cannot progress any relationship that you're trying to progress, right? So the first thing, like I said, is to shift our perspective that you are the main priority in those categories. Mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual has to be your number one priority. Because when you do take care of yourself in those areas, you're more capable, you're more present, and you're more resilient to anything that comes up in life. So, what does that look like? What does it look like to be a proactive self-prioritization? Well, one thing that looks like is scheduling recovery and rest like appointments. A lot of us have gotten to the point where we schedule exercise, we schedule doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, meetings throughout work. We're scheduling a lot of things, but we wait until our body has had enough to schedule a vacation. We wait until our body is so beaten up to schedule a massage or a rest day. We need to look at these things as if they're a part of the plan, right? If you want to work out regularly and you work out 3 to 4 times a week, well, then you need to schedule in those 2 to 3 days of rest and making sure you're doing some stretching and some walking, maybe getting a massage or whatever rest looks like for you, right? Doing some meditation, going for a walk in nature. You're scheduling that in just as if you were scheduling the workout.
Hey, hope you're loving the episode so far. Thanks for spending some time with me. I got a quick favor to ask. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast because that's how I know you're getting value from the show. And this way, you never miss an episode. All right, now back to the show.
This way, you don't have to wait until weeks or months go by and your body's so beat up from your workouts that you just can't even move anymore and you got a pain in your shoulder because you're maintaining it throughout the weekly basis of, hey, I'm going to work out 3 to 4 times a week and I'm going to recover 3 to 4 times a week so you keep that balance. Another thing this looks like in practice is time in nature, time alone, and unplugged family dinners. Now, time in nature for me is one of the biggest things. If I can go for a walk in the trees where there's not many people, like you're on a path, but you're kind of on a hike, it fuels my nervous system and my emotions and my being so much that it's like one of the best things that I could do. Time alone is huge, right? I'm not saying you need to go isolate yourself and lock yourself in a room, But one thing that I like to do is the morning time, right? Maybe you get up before others and you just have time to be in the dark house. Maybe you get a cup of coffee. Maybe you go sit out on your porch. Maybe you, whatever, read the paper. I don't know what you do, right? You might stretch. You might do a couple things, but you're spending time alone. It might be 30 minutes. It might be an hour. It doesn't have to be a long time, but you have time alone. And then another great thing that I don't think enough people are doing right now is an unplugged family dinner. Like, when was the last time you sat with your children or your parents or your brothers and sisters, whoever's in your immediate family right now, without any phones, without any TV, without any distractions, and you just had a meal, you had good conversation, and you sat there and you digested and you chilled and you just hung out with your family? That is proven to have so many health benefits. It's not even funny. It's just the way humans are made, how we're built in communities to surround each other with loved ones and to converse over a meal, right? We're not distracted by our phones. We're not watching a TV episode. We're just sitting down at a table, having a good meal that we cooked at home, and you're having a good conversation about the day. That's going to connect you so much more with your family and bring calm and peace to you. Another thing is movement and breath work. Like I said, we don't always have to exercise like intensely. Sometimes when we can like prioritize ourselves and be proactive about it, it's doing some yoga, doing some stretching, doing some box breathing and some other breath work techniques that are very helpful to restore the body and not always beat it up. And another thing that's really important is being able to say no or not right now. I think a lot of times we feel like if we don't say yes, there are consequences that we're going to miss out on something, or the person who we're talking to is going to look at us in a negative light. When in reality, if you're the type of person who shows up in the world that you take yourself very seriously, your health, your mental state, your family, your business, your career, like if people look at you and they know that you value those things at a high level and you say no to a scenario, it's not looked at as like, oh, screw them, they don't want to be a part of me. They're understanding like, oh no, they value themselves so much that this scenario isn't right for them. And that's okay. People are going to have judgments if they get jealous or they're pissed that you can't come, and that's okay. Because if it doesn't serve you to do the event or the thing that you're saying no to, it's going to be way better off that you say no. So let's say you really need some rest and you have a friend who's like, hey, let's go out, let's grab some drinks. It's Saturday night, we'll go out at 10, we'll be out for a few hours. And you know that you just want to chill, have a good dinner, maybe watch a movie, relax, and be in bed by 10, 10:30. But you know what? You're like, I'll say yes because I haven't seen them in a couple weeks or a couple months, and it'll be good to catch up and, might have some good laughs or whatever. But deep down inside, you know that that's not going to serve you. Well, then you have to be comfortable saying, I'm the priority. I'm going to just chill tonight. Now, look, that doesn't mean that you can never go enjoy your life. I think there's got to be a balance. If you want to go have drinks and go out once in a while, good, go do it. But what I'm trying to say is if you never prioritize yourself and you never say no to events like that, you're gonna have some regret. You're gonna wake up the next day and say, you know what? I knew I should have just said no. I should have just stayed home. And that happens a lot of times. And we just need to learn to say no or not right now, because it's just gonna cause you regret and to piss you off, honestly, right? When we can be set up in a space of prioritizing ourselves, feeling good, and going with the flow for what's going to serve our energy at the moment, right? But here's the reality. Stress is a part of life. We can't just quit our jobs, get rid of our family, and just move to an island and never work again in our lives. That's not reality, right? Stress is a part of life, and stress is good, right? We are on a mission here not to remove stress from our life. It's to become more resilient so that when stress comes, you'll be ready, right? That's the point. It's not to create all these hacks and these habits so that stress just disappears. It's no, when we're around certain illnesses and viruses and bacteria, but our body's resilient to that stress, we won't get sick, right? When we have a full social battery and we're fully rested, we can go into social occasions and not feel burnt out or stressed by it because we're ready for those situations. When you prioritize yourself, it's giving you the tools and the energy to face what comes in life, right? It's not that we need to put ourselves in this little bubble and remove all stressors that are ever going to happen. It's no, you're prioritizing yourself so that when stress comes, you're ready. Back to the exercise example, right? If you work out every single day and you train hard and you're lifting weights and you're running and you're doing all these things, exercise is activity that breaks down your body, right? It breaks down your muscles, it breaks down your energy. A lot of things are happening. If you never give yourself a break from that, one day something's going to break, right? Physically, you might have an injury or you might have symptoms internally that are not so good. But if you intentionally set rest days, set days to stretch and to recover and to go for walks and to fully hydrate, then that cycle can just continue. You can continue to work out for a couple days a week and continue to recover for a couple days a week ongoing, rather than saying, I'm just going to work out every single day until something breaks. So by prioritizing yourself and recovery, you have the tool and the energy to face that diversity of the exercise when you do it. So that's great. Now, what can we do about this? We need to have specific actions that we can take that are going to move the needle in the direction of self-prioritization and fueling our recovery, right? To generalize everything, you are the priority. You, the person listening to this. No one else on this planet comes before you and your health in all of those avenues. Mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual need to be your number one priority at all times. So, what's something that we can do this week on your calendar that's just for you? That's what I want you to do. To take action from this message and this episode is look at your calendar, even if it's 5 minutes, but it can be 5, 30, an hour. What's some time that you can schedule in to delegate to yourself? Is it taking a hot bath for 30 minutes at nighttime? Is it taking 10 minutes to do some foam rolling? Is it an hour-long walk in nature this weekend? Is it some time by yourself in the morning? I don't know, but you do. You know what's going to feel best for you. You know what worked with your schedule. All I'm asking you is to pull out your calendar and look at your whole week, and let's set something up on the calendar. Put it in there, set a reminder, and don't schedule around it. If something pops up where a friend is like, hey, can you hop on the phone or can we do this? No, I'm busy. I have X, Y, and Z to do at that time. It's got to be like you have a doctor's appointment or something very important, because it is just as important. All right, so that's my call for you. That's what I want you to do this week. And I'd love to know what's working for you, right? What you chose to do and how it popped up for you. So send me a message on social media, leave me a message on here, however you can reach out to me. And remember, if this landed with you and you feel like someone else needs to hear it, please share it with them, whether it's just sending them the link or posting it to your social medias, guys. So go take action, get something on the calendar, and I will see you next week.
Hey, thanks for spending some time with me on today's episode. I hope you got a ton of value from it. If we're not connected on Instagram yet, let's change that. Hit me up at Sean Calhoun _. That's SEAN Calhoun _. Shoot me a DM. Let me know what you think of the show, or if you got any questions about how to level up your health. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you on the next episode.